profound disagreements there.
China's leader gets a lecture on human rights. Tension in the teachers' strike.
What have I done to you?
Ontario heads for the courtroom.
And where did the fight go from there?
And murder replay. Robert Latimer's video confession.
It was fairly accurate, I think.
And on the magazine, Clark's lie. The teachers, just a minute, sir. I listen to you, you'll listen to me. The fury over a teacher's strike.
I want to know when my 2 kids are going back to school.
A full edition forum with teachers, parents, and the politicians. Who should control the classroom?
The National with Hannah Gartner and Peter Mansbridge.
Good evening. They're toasting closer ties tonight. 2 of the world's most powerful leaders wrapping up a summit that signals an end to a long diplomatic chill. But on at least one key issue, the United States and China remain very far apart: human rights. And in an extraordinary public exchange, Bill Clinton took on Jiang Zemin. From Washington tonight, the CBC's David Holton.
It wasn't the warmest of reconciliations, but it finally happened. President Jiang Zemin was the first Chinese leader to be received with full honors here since the tanks rolled into Tiananmen Square 8 years ago. It was the beginning of the massacre of pro-democracy activists that threw U.S.-China relations into a deep freeze. Today, the message was that one superpower and an emerging one have no choice but to cooperate.
Both our countries can best advance our interests and our values by working together rather than standing apart.
Let us, the Chinese and the Americans, join hands and together with people around the world, work hard to bring about the new century of peace, stability, and prosperity.
Across the road from the White House, though, Jiang's red carpet welcome was denounced by an unusual coalition of right and left, protesting China's human rights violations.
I would rather be in this unusual coalition than the other unusual coalition, the coalition that now includes the man from Hope, Arkansas, and the butcher of Beijing.
This is not a cuddly new China we're talking about here.
But the human rights issue wasn't ignored in the White House either. At a news conference later, there was a remarkably blunt exchange after the Chinese leader said he had no regrets for what happened in Tiananmen Square.
The Chinese government had to take necessary measures according to law to quickly resolve the matter, to ensure that our country enjoys stability.
But on this issue, we believe the policy of the government is on the wrong side of history.
But when they met again at a White House banquet, the 2 leaders did have some agreements in hand. Jiang has promised to stop Chinese sales of nuclear arms technology to rogue states such as Iran. But ultimately, the most important result of this summit was to establish a framework for closer relations. It was agreed to hold annual summits and to set up a hotline between the 2 capitals to deal with future crises. It's an indication that the U.S. now sees its relationship with China as a high priority, a relationship that will shape the 21st century. David Holton, CBC News, Washington.
Jiang is on a 12-day tour of the United States. He travels on to Philadelphia, Boston, and Los Angeles later in the week. Ontario's government took its case against striking teachers to court today. It filed documents to seek an injunction to end the walkout. As the dispute moves into the courtroom, out on the picket lines, the temperature is rising. Here's the CBC's Reg Sharon.
They've been battling it out in the court of public opinion. Now, Ontario's government has decided to fight its 126,000 teachers in a court of law.
I haven't talked to anybody yet who thinks that we should just allow lawlessness to continue when clearly there is an option available to us.
Mike Harris's government will seek a court injunction to try and force teachers back into the class. But if it's caused a chink in the teacher's armor, it wasn't showing outside Queen's Park this afternoon, as thousands of teachers shut down traffic, while inside their leader wouldn't even speculate about the injunction.
But it is a matter before the courts. We certainly treat it seriously.
It's a bully tactics they're using, and I'm really annoyed about it.
Not that all teachers agree with what's happening. This teacher wants to be in class.
I want to teach my children, but I'm not allowed.
He didn't get through the picket line, neither did this teacher.
All you're doing this is for greed.
No, that's not true. And you can turn it that way. That's because you're a sheep.
As for obeying an injunction, this teacher says he will.
Because at that point, it's the courts talking.
But it depends on who you talk to.
I think it's a question of democracy. Okay, I'm standing up for what I believe in.
Single working mom Jennifer Schulman says both sides are acting like schoolyard children, with the government playing the part of the bully. She knows all about children. She's been forced to bring her son to work this week. What she wants is for cooler heads to prevail.
It's like in the playground, back and forth, instead of trying to find a resolution.
If the injunction is a resolution for government, it certainly isn't a sure bet. In fact, the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled before that labor disputes should only wind up in court as a last resort. And even if the government is successful, there's certainly no guarantee the teachers will return to work. Red Sharon, CBC News, Toronto.
Dramatic evidence today in the trial of Robert Latimer. In testimony, the court heard and saw how Latimer described killing his severely disabled daughter. As Eric Sorensen reports, after today's testimony, Latimer's defense strategy is now clear.
Robert Latimer's own words and actions were used against him today as the Crown introduced into evidence statements he made to police. Latimer first told police his disabled daughter, Tracy, died in her sleep, but tests showed carbon monoxide killed her. The RCMP's Ken Lyons coaxed the truth out. Lyons read from a transcript of their conversation, which Latimer signed. Lyons said, "I have no doubt you caused your daughter's death," and went on to say, "This was something you felt you had to do out of love for your daughter. Isn't that right, Bob?" Latimer, in tears, replied, "My priority was to put her out of her pain."
There's no need for us to go inside it.
Latimer went further than just talking to police. He willingly showed investigators how he did it, how he put his daughter into his pickup truck and pumped exhaust fumes into the cab.
And where did the pipe go from there? Off the back and around it.
He gave police the pieces of pipe he used. He even drew a sketch of the pipes and hoses he fashioned to pump the deadly gas. Latimer said little leaving court, but didn't dispute the evidence.
It was fairly accurate, I think, what they said. So.
Latimer's lawyer says his client's admissions set the stage for his defense, that Latimer told police everything, because what he did, he felt was necessary.
He was acting totally out of concern for his daughter's pain and suffering, and that he wasn't focusing on the consequences that might befall him for what he did.
The defense has disputed virtually none of the evidence that suggests Robert Latimer killed his daughter. Cross-examination has focused on things like Tracy Latimer's condition before she died and Robert Latimer's emotional state. The defense hopes the Crown's assertions to the jury that Robert Latimer did it will be outweighed by considerations of why he did it. Eric Sorensen, CBC News, Battleford, Saskatchewan.
Still ahead in tonight's news. Fighting back.
But I've never been in contact with the motorcycle gang.
A prison warden defends his nighttime job and calling it quits.
I've got no further comment. You have my press release.
The Mounties man on Airbus leaves the force.
And later on the magazine, the Ontario teachers strike. Anger at the government.
I do not think it is a way to solve the problem for the government to come in and say, we unilaterally are going to do all the solving for you.
Frustration with the teachers.
Where are the teachers at 3:30?
And a message for parents.
Parents are going to get involved now.
A national forum. Who should control the classroom?
Not amended.
Bob Sikorsky first swam the lake when he was about the age of his oldest grandchild. Now, he's father of 6, grandfather of 11. Always finishes what he starts. Thinks what you learn is only half the story. Thinks what you do with it is the other half. Makes Canada Savings Bonds an important part of his plan. Bob knows that you can always keep your head well above water when you're on solid ground.
The Sistine Chapel cleaning, $7 million. Painting, $4 million. materials. $2 million. Seems you can get a pretty good restoration for $13 million.
Holy cow!
Imagine what Holiday Inns will look like when we spend $1 billion. Holiday Inn, on the way.
What are you doing? I'm figuring out what our website should be. We could have a spinning logo, like this one, or a flaming logo.
You know what would be a great idea? If people with PCs anywhere could order our products, and that was all tied together, then that would change everything.
I don't know how to do that.
Lexus GS is so unlike any luxury automobile we've designed before, you won't want to let anything spoil the performance.
Some fallout today in the story of Michel Deslauriers, the moonlighting prison director. The Bloc Québécois isn't being quite as tough on him now, not like yesterday, when the Bloc alleged that his second job at a hotel gave Deslauriers ties to biker gangs. Today, as we hear from Mark Kelly, it was Deslauriers who was talking tough.
Michel Deslauriers is a prison warden who says he's been wronged. He's denying allegations by the Bloc Québécois that a hotel he co-owns is a hangout for the Hells Angels.
I recognize that I'm managing part of that hotel, but I've never been in contact with the motorcycle gang.
Yesterday, the Bloc said Deslauriers is in a conflict of interest for running a penitentiary where the Hells Angels are prisoners and running a hotel where they're customers. This is the hotel at the center of the controversy, the Auberge du Canada. Deslauriers says the only ties his hotel has with the Hells Angels are geographic. The Hells Clubhouse is just down the road. However, the hotel's receptionist, Nancy Lamarche, says bikers do show up about twice a year looking for a room, and she doesn't turn them away.
Everybody else is kind of a little bit, they fear them a little. That's normal. But it's customer to customer.
Police confirm bikers from this clubhouse have visited the hotel, but not often. They say no laws have been broken, so for them, the matter ends there.
Mr. Speaker.
Back in the House of Commons today, Deslauriers received the full support of Solicitor General Andy Scott. He called the Bloc's allegations shameful.
The issue here is whether or not the hotel we're talking about is a haven for biker gangs. It is not.
But the Bloc did tone down its language, though party leader Gilles Duceppe says it still has the appearance of a conflict of interest.
So it's a very delicate situation. It could be a potential conflict of interest. That's what we're saying.
However, Bloc MP Michel Bellumeur did withdraw his charge that Deslauriers was doing favors for prisoners who were his chums. Prison guard Fernand Doré says Bellumeur was out of line.
You don't look if the guy is a biker or not biker, you know. He's inmate, he treats the inmate legal everywhere. You know, that's my opinion there. He's fair with everyone.
Deslauriers says he's considering suing the Bloc members for their allegations. As for his hotel, business is slow. And since the controversy broke, 4 clients have canceled their reservations. Mark Kelly, CBC News, Trois-Rivières, Quebec.
Meanwhile, police in Quebec City arrested members of 2 biker gangs last night. The raid interrupted a meeting between Quebec's Rock Machine and a notorious American gang, the Bandidos. As we hear from Lynn Robson, police see that meeting as a sign Quebec's infamous biker war may be about to heat up.
The restaurant on top of this downtown hotel is known for its view, and now new notoriety. Last night's dramatic police raid. He says police came in with their guns drawn. The result, 30 bikers arrested, representing 2 criminal gangs, the Rock Machine of Quebec, plus a couple members of the Bandidos from the United States. We're trying to prevent a war of criminal gangs in Quebec, say police. And where there are bandidos, there is often biker violence. The Bandidos aren't well known in Canada, but they are big and they are bad. Based in Texas, the gang has branches in every Scandinavian country, Australia and France. Their war with the Hells Angels has already killed 11 people in Europe. Now police say the Bandidos want to expand into Canada and take over the rock machine. The two gangs share a deadly hatred for the Hells Angels.
The Hells Angels, of course, have an agenda. It's to control drug distribution almost everywhere they can in the world. Well, the Bandidos decided to do the same.
Whenever biker gangs compete for territory, there is violence. So police worry about what will happen if the rock machine gets absorbed by the bigger and better organized Bandidos.
It's going to give the Bandidos a new motivation. One thing is for sure, it won't help the war.
Police say the arrests and all the media attention may delay the Bandidos' plan to merge with the rock machine. They also say there is so much drug money at stake here that virtually nothing will stop the biker gang from trying again. Lynn Robson, CBC News, Quebec City.
For many, this man is the fall guy in the Airbus scandal, Staff Sergeant Fraser Fagenwald of the RCMP. He announced today he's leaving the force, and the Mounties had an announcement of their own. Their investigation into his role in the scandal has also come to an end. More from the CBC's Susan Harada.
How are you?
Fraser Fagenwald had nothing to say tonight about his sudden retirement, nothing to say about the timing. He quit just days before a scheduled RCMP hearing into allegations that he leaked critical information in the Airbus case to the media. Now, there will be no hearing.
I've got no further comment. You have my press release? Okay, thanks.
His release was sent out this morning. It said, "I am retiring from the RCMP after being exonerated by the internal investigation process and with all allegations of misconduct against me withdrawn." The RCMP refused to confirm whether he was exonerated of wrongdoing, would only say because he retired, the allegations were dropped.
Yeah, well, as far as the RCMP is concerned, with respect to these proceedings, it's case closed.
Case closed or settlement reached? The Solicitor General suggested Fagenwald and the RCMP struck a deal.
For our part, the conditions of his settlement are one of the conditions of the settlement is that they're not to be discussed.
Fagenwald's role was discussed months ago when it was confirmed the RCMP were investigating him. Earlier, the government had said an unnamed RCMP investigator may have leaked information, and that was one reason it opted for a multi-million-dollar out-of-court settlement with Brian Mulrooney. If Fagenwald has been exonerated, it raises questions about who was responsible for the collapse of the government's case against Mulrooney.
The reasons that I gave for settling the lawsuit on January the 6th were true then, and they're true now.
Former Justice Minister Alan Rock was subpoenaed to appear at Fagenwald's now cancelled hearing.
I'm disappointed that they've ended it this way. I'm disappointed that the public won't get the facts.
But disappointment's not enough, according to the opposition parties. They say the government should put the facts on the table instead of letting Fagenwald's retirement very conveniently bring the Airbus scandal to a close. Susan Harada, CBC News, Ottawa.
A turnaround today from Nova Scotia Premier Russell McClellan. He reversed a controversial decision that allowed exploration on an untouched piece of wilderness, Jim Campbell's Barren in western Cape Breton. As Cass Rusey explains, the switch may be as much about votes as it is about the environment.
In a highly anticipated announcement, Nova Scotia Premier Russell McClellan reversed a decision his predecessor made 1 year ago.
I am directing that the area in northern Cape Breton, known as the Jim Campbell's Barren, be listed once again among those lands and spaces in our province to be protected from development.
The government flip-flop is over this, a 1,700-hectare chunk of land near the Cape Breton Highlands National Park, called the Jim Campbell's Barren after a prospector long dead. Last year, the government withdrew the area's protected status, clearing the way for mining exploration. In her home in Shettycamp, Maria Coyne breathed easier following today's announcement. This is what she wanted to hear.
I care about my children, and I care very much about what we're leaving our grandchildren, and I think time is running out.
The community of Shettycamp has the most at stake in this decision. The controversy surrounding the Jim Campbell's Barren has split the village. It's the familiar fight between jobs and the environment.
I'm disappointed that we'll probably never find out whether there was gold in the mountains or not.
But there were fears that mining would damage the nearby salmon rivers.
There's a study which indicates that mines and healthy aquatic populations do not coexist.
The mining company that was hoping to drill for gold is disappointed.
At this stage, we're probably stymied.
McClellan says today's decision is good for the environment, but others say it's good for him too, because the announcement comes days before by-elections, and McClellan's in a tough battle to win one of them, just next door to the Barren. Cass Rusi, CBC News, Shettycamp, Nova Scotia.
An expression of gratitude today from the Prince of Wales. Prince Charles is making his first official visit abroad since the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, last August. The Prince arrived in the tiny kingdom of Swaziland amid much pomp and circumstance. The African country was once a British colony. He used the occasion to thank people around the world for their sympathy and support following Diana's death.
We've all been deeply touched by the flood of messages and condolences and kindness that we have received from all over the world.
Charles and Diana's youngest son, Prince Harry, will join his father for part of the 8-day African tour. Next in tonight's news. Hong Kong stocks roar back as the market rebound continues.
And on the magazine, a national forum on the teachers' strike.
Kids are out of school right now. That's our problem.
We bring teachers, parents, and the politicians together to get ready for the fireworks.
I don't get any respect.
You're not going to get any more respect by breaking the law.
The battle over Bill 160.
I've read parts of that bill. I can barely understand what it says.
Who should control the classroom? When the National continues.
The all-new Century offers the luxury of dual-zone climate control, which does exactly what the name says. So whoever's on the right can have it a few degrees cooler than whoever's on the left, or vice versa. There are many degrees of luxury in the new Century. Dual-zone climate control is just one. You'll also like its cool price. The all-new Century by Buick.
I'm 69 this year, so I've got to convert my RRSPs.
It's the most important financial decision of our lifetime.
RIFs, annuities, tax and estate planning. It's so complicated.
I need to explore all my options. I can't afford to make the wrong decision.
To help you make the right decision, call 1-888-660-6164, and a Scotiabank Retirement Advisor will come to your home and take you through our exclusive Scotia Lifetime Financial Guide. Based on your numbers, we'll show you your options, then help you decide on the best plan. The Scotia Lifetime Financial Guide is personalized to meet your retirement goals, and it's yours to keep, no obligation, no cost. For help converting your RSPs or for more information, call Scotiabank now at 1-888-660-6164.
What do you think?
Wonderful. Peace of mind. I like it.
Safeway's November coupon book is here with deals that will bowl you over. Like Edwards Coffee, assorted grinds, the 737-gram tins are only $5.99. Or Safeway Select Soft Drinks, assorted varieties, get 2 12-packs for only $5. Or what about Safeway Soft Bathroom Tissue? Mega Pack, 24 rolls, 2-ply for $5.79. Safeway's November coupon book with over $500 worth of savings that are right up your alley. Safeway Food and Drug, today's better way.
Well, it looks like there's momentum on the markets. In fact, one day after a record-breaking turnaround on North American markets, it was Asia and Europe's turn to rally. In Hong Kong, investors rushed to buy, driving the Hang Seng Index up nearly 19%, the exchange's largest single-day increase. Moving west, key European markets continued the rebound. Then some very influential comments in the United States. The chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve said the recent turmoil on world markets might even be beneficial in the long run.
We need to assess these developments against the backdrop of a continuing impressive performance of the American economy in recent months.
And with that, the markets appeared to calm down. In New York, the Dow Jones closed up slightly, 8 points. And in Toronto, the TSE gained almost 109 points. So another chain reaction as markets opened and closed around the world today, a chain that can be traced back to a financial crisis in Southeast Asia. The CBC's Raymond St-Pierre reports from Hong Kong.
When one of the strongest economies in the world looked like it was collapsing this week, its impact was resounding. If analysts were concerned, so were Hong Kong investors. They've been watching the value of their stocks go up and down in the last few days, and it has been a harrowing experience.
I think it's difficult. I think it's very bad.
Hong Kongers are bitter. They blame their financial crisis on their neighbors, countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, who were forced to devalue their currencies due to bad economic management.
They'd got fat. They'd borrowed too much money too easily, and they were losing their competitiveness. Their productivity was low, and they started a big investment boom.
The domino effect hit Hong Kong soon after. Speculators felt Hong Kong would soon have to devalue its dollar too to remain competitive after most other Asian currencies crashed. Hong Kong's stock market took a plunge when authorities decided to protect the value of the Hong Kong dollar by jacking up interest rates. The Hong Kong dollar is the last currency in Asia that is pegged to the American dollar. Some believe it will have to stay that way if Hong Kong wants to keep on attracting business.
So that banks come to Hong Kong, bringing US dollars is certain in the certainty that when they want to move the base somewhere else, they can take all the money out in US dollars.
Others say it's time to devalue the Hong Kong dollar and abandon its tie with the US dollar. That not doing so will keep the Hong Kong market overvalued, with the price of real estate and services much higher than in the rest of Asia.
Hong Kong will have to adjust, and the only way it can adjust is basically through changing the peg. And that certainly is going to happen in the next, well, in my view, 18 months, 24 months.
Many analysts and fund managers predict the Hong Kong stock market is headed for a few more weeks of wild fluctuations, but they also predict it will ride out the trouble. After all, Hong Kong is the strongest economy in Asia, and it is still the gateway to do business in mainland China. Raymond St-Pierre, CBC News, Hong Kong.
Now here's Hannah Gartner with our magazine. Tonight, a full edition forum on the Ontario teachers' strike. Who should control the classroom?
Peter, thank you. Well, it is day 3 and they're digging in. On one side, the Ontario government, now hoping the courts will force teachers back to work. And on the other, more than 100,000 teachers who remain as defiant as ever. Well, tonight we are going to talk to some of the people on the front lines of this fight and to students and parents who are caught in the middle. Last week we invited viewers to tell us what they thought about the teachers' strike, and some of those people who responded are in our audience. This strike may be in Ontario, but the issues affect classrooms right across this country. Take a look at what's at stake.
We think it's one school system across the province and that we need to work equitably and fairly.
That in a nutshell is what Ontario is trying to do. Bill 160 shifts a whole range of responsibilities from the local school boards to the provincial government. School boards used to decide education policy. Now they'll only be responsible for busing, new construction, and some administrative tasks. 7 of the 10 provinces have already centralized their education system, but Ontario is going further than any of them.
We're going to do this one together.
Under the new law, Cabinet alone will determine the minimum and maximum class size and how much teacher preparation time should be allowed for during the school day. The bill also allows for hiring of uncertified teachers to work in the classroom. The Ontario government says its high school classes average about 25 kids each. But once you add in principals, vice principals, and educational specialists, Really, anyone certified as a teacher, the numbers change considerably. Ontario has 1 teacher for every 16 students. At the high end, Alberta has almost 19 students per teacher, and Quebec has a low of 15. That puts Ontario closest to the national average. Ontario high school teachers are paid for just over 6.5 hours a week to prepare for classes. The Ontario government says that is too much. Looking across the country, the average for all high school teachers is 4.5 hours per week. Quebec teachers get more prep time than teachers in Ontario. Everyone else gets less. And teachers in Ontario and Quebec get more than twice the prep time of teachers in BC, Alberta, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. Under Ontario's new law, uncertified teachers will be allowed in the classrooms for the first time. In the rest of Canada, New Brunswick is the only province that allows for uncertified teachers, and they allow them only under very restricted circumstances. Those are the basics of the new law. But to judge by the rhetoric coming from both sides, all this is really only part of what the dispute is about.
We don't have the quality in our education system.
It's really about power and who should control education, with both sides claiming that all they really care about is the kids.
Teachers are all that stand between this government and further cuts that will compromise your child's education.
We live in a law-abiding society. Breaking the law is not the right example. Let's put our children first.
So is there any way out of this standoff? Before we throw it open to our audience, let me introduce our special guests. Phyllis Benedict is the president of the Ontario Public School Teachers Federation. That is one of the 5 unions on strike. John Baird is a progressive conservative member of the Ontario Legislature. And Dave Cook is co-chair of the Education Improvement Commission, a government-appointed but independent commission in Ontario. He was also the province's Minister of Education under the previous NDP government. My impression is that this is really getting mean now. The Teachers Federation and the provincial government have really become polarized and confrontational, and I want to come clean here. I'm not only asking as a skeptical journalist, but as a concerned parent. John Baird, your government says it's going to cut $1 billion out of the education budget while at the same time improving education. Does anybody believe that?
Let me maybe correct the record. We've certainly never said we would cut $1 billion out of education. In fact, since we were elected, there's been very little cut from the budget. I mean, numbers released by the Ministry of Finance today show that education spending has gone up by a small amount in Ontario since 1995. So we certainly don't want to cut $1 billion out of education, Hannah. What we're trying to do is improve student achievement, to try to get students to do a better job. We've got good teachers. We've got bright students. We're spending a lot of money, but regrettably, we're not doing as well as we could on the international tests. And even just in comparison to other provinces, we think we can do better, and we want the best for our kids. We want our kids to lead the way.
Now, Phyllis Benedict, the teachers are on the line, and they are saying they're doing this because of for the future of education for kids. But at the same time, the teachers' unions have really resisted reform for the last 10 years. And one could get the impression that you're just being self-serving and obstructionist in all of this.
If I could go back just to correct that the $1 billion, very quickly, was not an arbitrary figure. We were told that by the Ministry of Education, so perhaps you could check back with them if they said it was based on research. Teachers' federations work hand in hand with the government when it's the right moves, when it is the correct thing for us to do. We're implementing the new curriculum. We are putting in the standardized testing. We are dealing with the standardized report card. We have promised smooth transition to new school boards. But when something is wrong, then the teachers of Ontario will stand up and say so.
Dave Cook, you're in an interesting position. You are in the middle. You're a socialist. Your NDP government tried to introduce reforms too. You ran up against unions. From your perspective now as co-chair of this commission, is anybody doing anything right here?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think we got to start off with the understanding that we start off with a pretty good education system in the province. We've got some test results, national tests that show we can improve, some provincial tests. We start off with a good system. We start off with a system, though, that needs to reform. I think what has shown up in the last week is that there's an underlying unease in this province about how well the system is doing. That has come to the surface big time because of the dispute that's going on. Teachers, in my view, have to understand they can't continue to resist change. Phyllis says that they're, implementing the curriculum. Well, they resisted the curriculum for a while. They resisted bringing in not standardized testing, but provincial testing. I went through some of the press clippings when some of those things were announced. The teachers' federations oppose that. They oppose the College of Teachers. There's been a resistance to reform, and the public has asked for it. The government, on the other hand, is playing, quite frankly, fast and loose with the money. So I think what we have to do if we're going to find a solution to this is say that we want to improve the system. We're not looking to reduce the deficit on the back of education. We're looking at improving the system. And teachers start proposing a vision of where you want the system to go.
And I don't want to speak on behalf of these people, but I'm sure what you hear is frustrating, because it's time, if everybody is working for the same thing, the betterment of education and teachers, it's time to get it together, folks. Now let's start here.
By the way, my name is Paul Bonifero, and I'm a labor lawyer. And I'm interested in this dispute from a labor lawyer's perspective. And I listened to what Mr. Cook says, and I agree. Because when this whole issue started, we heard the teachers say, don't touch our sick days. The government backed away from sick days. We heard teachers say, don't touch elementary prep time. Government backed away from elementary prep time. We heard teachers say, don't touch our right to strike. The government backed away from the right to strike. But we haven't heard the teachers' unions come forward with one iota of support and suggestion to say, we agree with two different parties here, the NDP and the Conservatives, and I think the Liberals are in this game as well, saying the system needs to be fixed. Teachers, not teachers' unions, teachers, what needs to be done? And we haven't heard the teachers, and I think they're the unfortunate ones here, because they're being muted. Their thoughts are not being put forward on their behalf by the unions. The unions are saying, we'll have no part of reform. They said it to the NDP government, they said it to the Liberal government before that, and they're now saying it to the Conservative
government. What you have to remember is that in each of the governments that you have described, they never once come to the teachers to have the kind of input that the teachers... Just a minute, sir. I listen to you, you'll listen to me. Sounds familiar. Mr. Baird here said that the classes, the secondary classes in his riding are very high. I haven't heard an explanation where you reduce the preparation time, you will reduce the number of teachers. You still have those students. I don't know where they're going to go. I haven't heard that, and you talk about class size, you haven't heard about maximum. Excuse me, sir, we came forward with suggestions. I can't reveal them here today because we agreed that we would not take those suggestions forward. Mr. Johnson is revealing his suggestions every single day of this dispute. We agreed with Mr. Johnson's people when we sat with them on the weekend. We would not reveal the suggestions that we came forward when we sat with Chief Justice Dubin.
Phyllis,
I will not break that.
What would your view be if the recommendation that our commission came up with was implemented, that there was a 25% reduction in secondary school prep time? All of the money that was saved and the teachers' time that was freed up was reinvested into the schools, so the class sizes decreased. No teachers would lose their job, be reinvested. Why is that opposed by teachers?
If you could guarantee that that would be what happens with Bill 160, Dave, that would be wonderful. But that's not what we're hearing. But don't forget,
Earl Manners is quoted in the paper to saying that's not right. He won't do that. He won't agree to that.
This bill is vast and large, and there's this preoccupation about issues like prep time. Why is there such an incredible focus on it? If prep time was such a big issue, why isn't the rest of the country, all the teachers across the country, why aren't they going on strike saying we want the same standards that they have in Ontario?
Because prep time is the only thing that we can understand in that bill. That bill is convoluted. I mean, one sentence takes up 3 paragraphs. I've read parts of that bill. I can barely understand what it says. Neither can a lot of other people. And that's how come this focus on prep time, because that we can understand. The rest of it goes over the heads of people.
And Phyllis, on the front page of the Kitchener Record of last Thursday, here are 4 high school teachers during school time constructing signs in preparation for that strike. And that's a bitter pill for me to swallow. I'm sorry, but that's the case. And there you are, in color, on the front page of a major newspaper in Ontario. And we have to sit there and look at that and say, you know, what's going on? But what we have to look at right now is not what this government or that government, what did in the past, the fact that we got kids, our richest in heritage, are out of, don't nod your head at me, are out of school right now That's our problem. Not look at the opportunity, the size of the problem we have, but the size of the opportunity which we can create, the heritage and the school system that was so prevalent and at one time in the province in this history was so good. And you're telling me on behalf of the Tory government that you've increased spending, yet Mr. Snowblen said on CFRB we're not going to cut, and yet Mr. Harris comes out and says another $800 million. You're up to close to $2 billion now.
To be fair, because I mean, I think one of the positive things that happened is that we're having a debate on education. What is not going to be positive if the facts aren't presented clearly. What's happened is that there's been a $500 million cut in education.
In the end, I mean, teachers are not elected. They are not accountable to anybody. Who should have control? If the Ministry of Education, if the Ministry of Education shouldn't be responsible for education, school boards.
I don't understand how they can say that there aren't further cuts to education when it was clearly stated in Veronica Lacey's, by the way, I'm a teacher with the Northrop Board of Education, and it was clearly stated in Veronica Lacey's contract that she was to cut $667 million from education.
Mr. Harris said you were going to cut more. The premise of that question is the more money you spend, the better results you'll get.
We're cutting the number of schools. Doesn't improve education.
We're cutting the number of school boards by from 129 to 72. And the previous NDP government suggested that could save $150 to $200 million. We think there's efficiencies. Let me tell you a story about the boards in my riding. The Carleton Roman Catholic School Board on one side of Baseline Road spends 30 or 40% less than the Ottawa Public Board on the other side of the street, and yet on so many of the key indicators, student retention rate, they actually do better. And there's a clear example with simply throwing more money at the problem doesn't necessarily yield better results.
That's not true with all the boards. You're talking Catholic and public school boards. It doesn't all work that way in every single. It may work in your riding. It does not work in other ridings. If you go to Toronto, that's not the case.
That's why we've got to look at how we're spending the money and ensure we're spending it to the best.
We talk about money. I'm Karen Lisa. I really don't want to stop you, but unfortunately we have to take a short break. Please stay with us. Our forum will continue after this. Come back.
I'm sorry, did I hear you right? So you flew all the way here to talk to me? Ah, so you're checking out Norm's company, huh? What can I tell you? Great supplier, always meets deadlines. I never had anyone from a mutual fund company asking questions before. Boy.
Trimark talks to a company's suppliers, workers, even its customers.
You flew all the way down here.
Bottom line, I've got to make money. I need a high-yielding canola like Innovator.
Treated and coated. And we don't have a lot of time, so we need one-pass weed control. And we need a
full range of marketing options. Budgeting is easy, too. Payment can wait till after harvest.
Innovator canola, $1.85 a pound till November 30th. Deferred to October 98 OAC. Innovator, the right price, the right time.
With more horsepower and better gas mileage, it's a car that'll blow you away. The new 98 Corolla, unlike any other car, just like every Toyota.
And there I am with a garden gnome again. Oh, and these neck slides are from my trip to the Tri-State Area Quilt Fair. They take up about 30% of the shots that I took.
30% is a lot, and we should know, because Premium Plus gas reduces emissions by up to 30%. Only at Mohawk.
Introducing Road and Wheel, a better way to buy, sell, or trade your car, truck, RV, or even parts, all in one guide. With the highest circulation of its kind in Saskatchewan, and at just $1.95, it's the hottest wheels on the market. Pick up your copy of the Road and Wheel Premier Issue for details on how you can win this classic '68 Camaro. Road and Wheel.
Welcome back to the National's full edition forum on the Ontario teacher strike. Now, before we went to the break, I interrupted you, Cole. I apologize. Why don't you make your point?
My point is that you guys are both clouding your agendas with saying you're here to protect the kids. But if you're really going to protect the kids, wouldn't you have solved this all in the summer?
Oh, we tried. If I can respond to that, we tried. We tried at the end of August and the beginning of September, prior to the final writing of Bill 160, and we sat.
Or did you all just hang around so you could use the kids as pool?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
so
not.
You guys could
we
take
tried so diligently, not once but twice with this government, to have meaningful resolution prior to the action that had to be taken this week. This was the last thing that teachers wanted to do this week. You know, they want to be in their classrooms with their students. That's where they deserve to be. But there was no commitment from the government side. There hasn't been. They want money out of education, and that's all they care about.
Phyllis, where was the teachers' union yesterday?
They were out.
They didn't negotiate. It was on the national news last night that the teachers didn't negotiate. If they really want to get back to work,
sir,
and they really care,
our door is always open.
Really
Where's the government side? There is
right.
Sir,
right.
we
stayed
there Sunday night,
everybody?
and we needed to.
I want to know when my 2 kids are going back to school.
Excuse me, if I could add something to what Cole is saying. I think that people are the politicians, the teachers, they're thinking on a basic political level, and nobody's thinking about the nature of the problem. And the truth is that when the teachers get back to the classrooms, if or when this bill goes through, they're not going to be happy to teach. You're going to have unhappy teachers, and there is nothing worse than sitting in a classroom.
You're going to have teachers who have pride in what they did because they stood up to a bully of a government. So you're going to have teachers who have lost wages, have huge personal as well as financial losses.
I'd like to know if the teachers democratically voted to walk out.
They voted with their actions on Monday morning. They made a decision to go to. Excuse me, there's no more democratic process than your individual choice. And the choice of teachers, they could either go.
I've talked to so many teachers.
The choice happened on Monday. They could support it or not support it.
How strong unions are. Do you know? Maybe they're afraid.
I'm a classroom teacher.
But people know how strong unions are and the repercussions that can happen if they don't want to jobs.
160.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I mean, really, we've gone way over.
Yeah.
I am here because one of the things that I wrote in my little thing was that I think there are problems we have to solve. I do not think it is a way to solve the problem for the government to come in and say, we unilaterally are going to do all the solving for you. Because I don't think the government understands all the questions that are involved. I think it doesn't give the parents a choice, it doesn't give the school boards, which have been really flattened by the recent bill that's cut them down to size. I think the things we've seen by the government, we've seen a lot of things that have been done by the government. The government, I do not believe, has really understood what is happening. I have been a teacher. I'm not a teacher now. I have been a teacher. I have been a teacher in 1959 when I taught by the book because I had 7 classes. I had 1 spare week in the second period on Monday morning, and there was no way I could do any preparation except go into the classroom and say, open the book and start at page 7.
Yeah.
Now,
There's no preparation anywhere else in work.
Well, I think in all cases, there are bad teachers, there are good teachers. There's a flow in education. If you've watched education over the years that I've watched over it, there's a pendulum swing. Nothing ever works all the time for everybody. I think what we need to do here is to get all the parties working together on a balanced program. I think there are points the government's made that the teachers have got to accept. I think that there are points that the teachers have made that the government's got to accept, but we're just sitting here and not talking.
Can I add something to that?
That's the center of the issue.
The center of the issue is
compromises. The government's compromised on a whole host of issues. There's been concerns about the regulatory power of the bill. We've said, listen, let's sit down and we'll write it right into the legislation.
But can I add
Excuse me, by appointing Snowblin as a minister, that does not show respect to any teacher.
Or any voter, for that matter.
I
think here that's really important in the sort of in how this has come down as this kind of emergency crisis. We have teachers on strike and kids not at school, people just learning about the bill now, is that there have been a million changes to the education put through. This is a government deadline we're working towards. Everything has to be changed by January 1st. So suddenly it's an emergency in the whole
until September of 1998.
The taxation bill.
September of 1998.
I've read the bill over and over. I know what's in it. We have all the thing is, what this lady says is really right, and we need to have time. Parents need to have time. They need to be involved in the discussion. This is a massive change to the education system, and we're being left out, and it's being fought out between the teachers and the government. And we've got this deadline we're working towards to change everything, and I think we need to kind of stop and slow down, look at it again, let people learn about it, understand what regulatory powers mean.
But we have to start these changes at some point.
Mr. Baird, if you could take Mr. Harris and Mr. Johnson and a few other of your colleagues from the government and take them to Pioneer Park in Kitchener and go to Brigadoon School and model Brigadoon School for the rest of the province. It is an ideal school. The teachers listen to us. We talk to them. We have input with our child's education.
But what I am hearing here is that whatever the minutiae of the arguments, the individual arguments about this bill, what I'm hearing is a bottom line common sense. There's so much ill will that clouds this. The government is, you're looking as if, I think that's the public perception, that you're slashing and you're union busting, and you look like if you're protecting your turf and not wanting to, and that it is a labor dispute and not about education.
Prep time, okay? There's been a lot of talk about prep time. Now, this prep time that we're talking about, is this between the hours of 9 and 3:30?
How about I define
What happens between 8:30 and 4:30? I mean, an average working day is 8:30 to 4:30. Where are the teachers at 3:30?
Many teachers are in their schools at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Not all the time. There are circumstances where I've called the school, different schools, I'm not saying the name of the school or the board, where I have called the school myself, 3:45, principal's gone, vice principal's gone, teacher's gone.
At 3:45?
At 3:45. Now, who am I supposed to talk to?
At 3:45, I would suggest that they're probably someplace doing an in-service for something like the new curriculum, because there wasn't any time before.
There should be somebody accountable to be at the school to speak to the parents until at least 4:30. I mean,
Folks, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm going to have to ask you to hold it here because we unfortunately have to take another break. We will be back with our discussion right after this.
You want me to
come back?
Define prep time.
Meet Marion Kane. Thinks security doesn't just come up and tap you on the shoulder. Thinks it's something you earn. She'll let very few people tinker with her bike. Won't let anybody tinker with her financial future. Makes Canada Savings Bonds a big part of her plan. When you're on solid ground, you can go wherever you want. Ride on, Marion.
Your briefcase. Yes, sir. It's here in the hall.
Acura, designed with purpose, driven by passion.
Call your mom. Call your friends. Call them all. Call them who?
Introducing SaskTel 10-cent weekends. Every Saturday and Sunday in October and November, SaskTel Real Plus Extra customers can call anywhere in Canada for only 10 cents a minute.
Come on, call them with these savings, 'cause you can call them all. Say hi.
10-cent weekends from SaskTel.
Because wrinkles appear out of nowhere.
The Pond's Institute introduces Prevent and Correct lotions, 2 different moisturizers, one with SPF 15 for day and one to smooth fine lines at night to help prevent and correct the signs of aging.
2000 has a deodorant freshness to bring you closer and skin moisturizers to keep you there. So you can feel good about getting close with Lieber 2000.
The experience shows on CBC News Final. Join Costa Marigas, Howard Thornton, and Glenn Reed on CBC News Final.
Ground Rules, every Friday on the CBC News Hour.
Welcome back. The time has just flown. We have only time for some closing thoughts. We have been getting sort of sidetracked. Are we talking about quality or are we talking about control?
Both. I mean, what are the issues here? Are the issues the level of education? Are they about numbers? Or are they about the actual children? I mean, I'm a high school student at Earl Haig, and I enjoy going to school. I enjoy it because I'm in an environment where I can sit and talk and think, and I don't have to look out of a textbook to be educated. I mean, that's part of it, a very important part.
Go ahead.
I'm a parent with 5 children in elementary and public secondary school now, and I think that what we have to do here is start to focus on what we want to do for our children. I mean, we keep losing ourselves in these issues about class time, preparation time, and things, class sizes. We have to focus on what the children want, and I think what this should be a wake-up call to us as parents. Get involved now.
But we have to get involved.
Yeah. If we do not like what our government has done today, we will follow a democratic process and we will vote them out in 2 years. We will not stage illegal strikes with our children as pawns.
I think you're underestimating the impact of this bill and the impact that it will have on teachers. Being a teacher myself, I have nothing but negativity towards me, okay, from parents. I don't get any respect from the public.
I don't believe that you are treated without respect.
You're not going to get any more respect by breaking the law and by saying to your students when you don't like what you are, walk out on an illegal strike.
And I think that the only way that, and this is probably why the union...
So in other words, we're supposed to sit and take it.
No,
get involved on your school.
Teachers want the public to know what's going on, and nobody's going to understand what's going on unless we go out.
How do you make the system more democratic? Is it democratic that all of the learning conditions are described as working conditions and they're decided at the bargaining table? Or is it democratic that there are some of the learning conditions that are actually decided by a government, like prep time, class size, and so forth, and if the government doesn't make the right decision, at least they're accountable.
We're here for the children.
I'm terribly sorry. I've got to stop you all. I thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being there. That's it for me, but please do not go away. Peter Mansbridge will be back in a couple of minutes with the late edition of The National, and of course, you know, that's going to be followed by your late local news for everyone here. Thank you for watching. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.